Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Welcome to the 50th episode of How We Heard It.
Wow.
This is Chuck Campbell with
Wayne Bledsoe and I'm John Baker.
Hey John, hey Wayne.
Hey.
So today we're going to celebrate, I guess, just blatant commercial success. We're going to talk about, or I'm mainly going to talk about the mega blockbuster albums. And by blockbuster albums, I mean they're powered by singles. And I've got a certain era in mind where this was just a phenomenon for about a decade of just giant album after giant album full of singles. And what I'm going to be talking about when we get there is like albums that had at least 5 top 10 singles on them. So these were big, and there were a different variety of reasons why they became so big. But, you know, I think that as a music critics and John, you as a musician yourself and a producer and all, we tend not to celebrate crass commercialism. You know, it's like we're always trying to point out things that people may have missed or that we think they should hear, and not just say, oh, you know, this big number one album is better than that big number one album.
I mean, but when they set out to make these records, surely they hoped they would be big, but do you think they were going for crass commercialism? I mean,
no, and I'm not even going to call it crass, and I mean, like, because these were talented people. And some of them still are. Some of them are dead. But and it was a variety of elements that came together that just opened the way for them to have this kind of success that's much harder to achieve now, and it was much harder to achieve in the earlier days.
Right. Well, I was going to just set up things a little bit with history on how things changed in the music business.
Okay, kids, take notes. It's
Yeah.
going to be a pop quiz.
Oh, here we go. But in the 50s and in the early 60s, everything as far as pop music, country music, rhythm and blues music, everything other than classical was a singles market.
Right.
People were focused on singles. That's what you got. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, it's changed a little bit with Frank Sinatra, changed a lot with the Beatles. Mm-hmm. And in the mid-'60s and later 60s, everything went to albums. And I mean, it was funny because when you talk about big, huge albums back in the 60s, I mean, when I was a kid, you'd go into somebody's house. If you looked at if they had a stereo and you looked at their record collection, you had what are you laughing about?
I'm laughing at you poking around people's houses.
Well, I did that.
A record collection's one thing, and an underwear drawer's another.
Well, that too. But anyway, you would find certain albums, and you would find, I don't know how many places I went into, everybody seemed to have the Sound of Music soundtrack. I didn't want it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't like the Sound of Music. Then they had Herb Alpert's Whipped Cream and Other Delights, which, you know, you buy just for the cover. I mean, the songs were fine.
Explain the cover for people who don't know this old album.
It's a beautiful naked woman covered in whipped cream.
Okay.
So you didn't see anything. And there's a lot of people who've been parodies of that for years. It's a classic album cover.
Right.
But beyond that, you weren't always sure what they would have. You might have a Beatles album or a Rolling Stones album or something like that. But those were like the two big blockbusters. I can't think of any other ones that you just always saw. And then in the 70s, when it became more of an album thing, you had, everybody had Hotel California. Mm-hmm. Everybody, people had Good Bailout Road or Elton John's Greatest Hits, something like that.
You can't count greatest hits, though.
Well, but still, yeah. It was like
you can't.
We haven't gotten to the.
I know what you're saying, but yeah.
Well, we haven't gotten to the subject
we'll talk
yet.
About it. Or fight about it.
I'm just saying this is what the history was, and then in about 1975, you have Frampton Comes Alive, which has a big bunch of hits on the first live album that just become just a mega seller, and then you get Fleetwood Mac with Rumors, tons and tons of hits. That becomes like another album everybody has, and then you get to Saturday Night Fever.
Right.
And the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack transformed the music business.
It did.
So that all the big companies were really worried about were blockbuster albums, because that was such a huge seller. It was absolutely chock full of hits.
Right.
It turned the Bee Gees from being, a very, very popular band to being the biggest.
The most popular band.
Right.
Right.
Right. So from that point on, that's when everything kind of changed to what you're about to talk about.
Okay. All right. Well, so you're leading up to the 70s, and we were talking beforehand how the 70s were kind of disco was a singles-oriented genre,
Right.
really. Because you wanted a single to be played at the club. It was a whole other way to get your song played was, at a disco. Mm-hmm. And there were just so many other factors that came into play that led up to the 80s. But basically you had every format was becoming available in the late 70s and into the 80s for singles, because people could buy vinyl singles. They could buy the 45s. With disco especially, the 12-inch single,
Yep.
which would be remix singles. Extended dance mixes, maybe alternate versions of songs. So you had that version. And they had cassette singles.
Yep.
And then later on with CDs, you could even buy CD singles. None of that really exists now. I mean,
Right.
It's like you don't buy singles anymore. So you had singles had a bigger distribution system, I guess. Now you can listen to singles through streaming.
Right.
And that's pretty much it, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some boutique type people who are still making singles somehow as kind of a novelty or very, very small revenue stream. But so you had that going, and you also had, MTV, right? It
Right.
debuted in 1981, August of 81. At first, not everybody had it, of course. You had to be in a cable access house, or something like that. But it was like a whole other world, a whole other way of branding, that you could reach more people and you could reach people differently. And at the same time, radio was still very popular because, you couldn't listen to MTV driving to work or to school. You couldn't listen to MTV, at the beach or the lake or the pool or whatever. So radio was still very viable, and the record labels had found ways to make money. So you had major record labels, you had MTV, you had radio still strong. So you had all these big corporate machines working together. And what this led to is, of course, for some artists, and I've got a list of them here who it was mainly 80s and early 90s that just blew the doors off for commercial success. And I think it really hit the high water mark even with Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Right. Which was the top-selling album for 2 years.
Right. And I think it is again now. It's still selling.
Yeah.
And from everything I found, it fell to second place to the Eagles' best of whatever.
Eagles' greatest hits.
Greatest hits, which we're not counting greatest hits because
Right.
greatest hits don't really spawn singles. It's an after the fact.
Right.
It's we can make money out of repackaging these. And I'm talking about the albums
Yeah.
that spawned the singles.
Well, and also the video of Thriller was an event.
Right, the video of Thriller, the video of Beat It, the video of Billie Jean.
Yep.
I mean, it's like song after song. And so Michael Jackson, he was the prototype for this kind of success because he was, and most of these people, you'll find they're all pretty much in their 20s and 30s, more or less, maybe shy of 40. They're all reasonably attractive. They were all video friendly. Not necessarily all making great videos, but they certainly made fine videos, and they did catchy songs. They had all the elements, and they were ambitious, and normally there was a whole marketing scam on how to get these things out there. Not scam, but a whole marketing
Strategy.
Strategy, yes.
Scheme.
Because it's like, a scheme. And you could take advantage of the fact that like a song could become a hit on MTV, and then radio finally picks it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it prolonged the hit. So it's extended even longer. And these albums, they were all like top tier albums for a couple of years at a whack, and maybe even 3 years, depending on how they placed their singles. So the average life of a single could be like 18 to 20 weeks
Right.
if it's like a big single, because it takes a while to climb up there. And the whole idea is you get the next single out just when that single starts dropping off.
Yep.
And you just keep it going and keep it going. That's exactly what they did with Michael Jackson. It was a well-produced album. Michael Jackson's a great singer. Michael Jackson's a great dancer. So, of course, that helped with the videos. And then they made production numbers out of the videos. Just everything came together for him because he was hit on MTV. He was still a hit on radio, and he had been a hit on radio before all of this happened. So Thriller ends up, I think the sales, the last I could figure, looked like it was about 51.3 million copies of that album, Thriller. And like I say, it had Beat It, Billie Jean, The Girl Is Mine, Wanna Be Starting Something, Human Nature, I don't remember Human Nature, PYT, which stood for Pretty Young Thing, and Thriller.
Yeah.
So it's just like this mega. But it wasn't, the thing is that it set the standards then, but other people were able to come along and also have phenomenal success. But what was did you feel any sense with Thriller that it was changing anything, or did it just seem like a big album?
Well, for me, and it was the same sort of thing as Saturday Night Fever, because all of a sudden, that's what record companies wanted to push, and that's all they were interested in. And they started dropping artists.
Yep, that's true.
They started dropping artists.
They wanted the mega big artists.
Right. I remember when Van Morrison lost his contract.
Yeah.
And it's like he was still selling 1 million copies of an album, but that wasn't considered a big success anymore.
No.
Gold album,
It would be big now.
Yeah, a gold album was 500,000 copies.
Right.
Platinum album was 1 million copies, and Diamond was like
10 million?
10 million. 10 million. And of course, Michael Jackson's Mega Diamond.
Yeah.
But suddenly the people, they used to have prestige artists that they kept on labels just because this made them look like they cared about the art, even though they weren't selling tons of copies.
Right.
They were respected, long-time artists.
And they sold consistently, but not just huge numbers. Record companies stopped caring about them.
But I do think, on looking at it in a positive way, I do think that all the revenue that these artists were pulling in at least got record companies looking at younger artists and signing the new things and the new best. I know that's obscene to think about dumping premier artists and everything, but they're looking for the next Michael Jackson. They're looking so at least they would maybe extend money and try out some videos and all that to bring in. And this only lasted for a few years because, of course, anything that makes a lot of money, people are going to find a way to ruin that.
Yeah, well, it ushered in, like I said, they're only concerned about, they were looking for the next big thing, the next big trend, and then they got hair metal.
Yeah.
And Bon Jovi becomes one of your next big blockbusters.
Oh, yeah.
Slippery When Wet had, tons of singles, was really successful. But I don't know that it was. I don't feel like it was a good thing.
Well, and maybe that was our differences as critics, because when I eventually got on the bandwagon, and I wasn't yet with Thriller, I wasn't reviewing or anything yet,
right.
Still in school, but I got to see a lot of young artists that they were trying out and they were testing the waters with, and some of them I really liked, even if they didn't make it, and some of them made it.
Yeah.
So. It's not a good thing for Van Morrison to lose his record contract. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, somebody from, Idaho might have a shot if they've got the right elements, and they're ambitious and talented and attractive,
Maybe, but a lot of those were coming from smaller labels like Slash. That's where the Violent Femmes and, all those, the Los Lobos and groups like that came from. Those were hugely successful for a small label.
Right.
But a big label, not so much. They weren't. I don't feel like they were putting money and interest into young artists.
Maybe we were just working with different publicists because they were sending me. I remember Warner Brothers. It felt like just a mountain of albums every week that they were sending to me.
Well, they would start picking up stuff.
Yeah, they'd grab it. If some small label did take somebody, somewhere, then they'd grab them.
Yeah, but again, the bigger the artist got, it's like, Bruce Springsteen with Born in the USA, another big blockbuster.
Yeah, I'm getting up to that, too.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, but, these, it still hadn't gotten to the point that it would get to later.
Right.
They were still putting some money into the stuff and looking for the next big thing, but it was much more of we know what we're doing than it was before, where it's like, let's just see what works.
Yeah. Well, at first it's like they just wandered into this, golden orchard where gold albums were just falling out of the sky thanks to radio and thanks to album sales, thanks to single sales, thanks to MTV, thanks to just this
the convergence of all these things.
It was a convergence of all things. And I think this is one reason a lot of people think that the 80s had the best music. It just had the best marketed and branded music because it was so readily available and it was everywhere.
Well,
for the big stars.
Yeah, but we all
and that's what people are going to remember,
Yeah, it's the last era where you had the biggest excess as far as music making so much money, and the people who were making it getting so much money, the ones on top anyway.
It seems to me kind of like similar to like the .com bust or a bubble or tech bubble or whatever. I mean, it's like when somebody senses that something is hugely profitable, everybody tries to make that same thing, and the hype just blows this bubble up, and all the value goes up until everybody realizes it's not that good, and then it all just deflates.
Right.
Yeah. But there wasn't. I mean, I'm not discounting how good a lot of that music was. There was great music in the '80s. Right. And I mean,
there were like I say, there were great bands that had one album, and then that was it. Yeah. But I mean, that's because of Prince. He was allowed to have like 12 ingenues. I mean, there was like someone coming out that Prince had a hand in like every few months. There was a new,
careful about the way you
and
say
singers it. And I mean, sorry, other performers would come along, but.
But I mean that was another thing is if you were a big mega selling artist, you were given lots and lots of leeway. Yeah, I mean a lot of times they'd let you develop your own record company and just negotiate with that. I mean,
produce yourself and
I mean,
and sign.
That's
people.
not, and I don't think those were necessarily good ideas.
No,
not always.
Some people can self-produce, but not everybody can.
Right.
But I mean, there was a lot of great music that came out of it. A lot of it seemed to come from nowhere. But I mean, it's what you mentioned with MTV. A lot of it was that they took away the stranglehold that radio had.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, MTV shook it up. But if they were in convergence, if someone managed to get on radio and on MTV, and these are the main people, right? The huge breakthroughs, they managed to hit every point of what you needed to be successful. Yeah. And there was still room for someone who only did album artists to just do albums and not do singles. And there was room, like we said, people could just go on MTV and sell stuff without really selling albums or getting on commercial radio. But these people, and I'll just go on here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Thriller, it was like way up on the charts from 82 to 84. All those singles, they would stream them out. So every 3 months you had another single, every 3 or 4 months. And you'd have another single, and you'd have another single. You just keep the momentum out there, and you keep him out there, and you keep him on MTV, and you keep him on your radio. He was inescapable, which, that would cause a backlash, but at this point, it didn't. Everybody just couldn't get enough. And then you kind of got the same thing happening for Lionel Richie right after that. And that from 83, 84, the Can't Slow Down album. He had All Night Long, Running with the Night, Hello, Stuck on You. I don't remember Stuck on You. Penny Lover. And he sold like 23 million. He has sold like 23 million to this point. And then, as you said, Springsteen, Born in the USA from 84 to 86. Again, this is such a long life for an album to be hanging around the top.
And used to be an album was good for 6 months.
Yeah. And these are multiple years. Yeah. And that's why some artists who were able to do this, they really didn't even have to tour. If you just kept making good albums with 5 or 6, stressed singles, you could stretch that onto your next album to come out, And if you wanted to tour, you could tour. Bruce Springsteen kept touring anyway, and he was able to, he wasn't a good dancer or anything, but he was video friendly. It's like everybody's relatively attractive here,
And another little thing to throw in there is they started getting like great Hollywood directors to direct the videos. I mean, the big famous Bruce Springsteen video.
Was that Courtney Cox?
Yeah, Courtney Cox. Dancing in the Dark, directed by Jonathan Demme.
Right.
The same guy who directed Silence of the Lambs.
And those were, hot.
He's a rock music fan.
Yeah.
He's done
So
a
it was
bunch.
a chance.
He's done a bunch of rock and roll documentaries
Yeah.
too.
That was just another element that made this whole thing just blow up
Yep.
because everything everywhere was bubbling up at the same time. And with Springsteen, Born in the USA, it had 7 top 10s on
Yep.
it. And he sold 22 million. He had Dancing in the Dark, of course, Cover Me, Born in the USA, I'm on Fire, Glory Days, I'm Going Down. In my hometown, I don't remember my hometown. There's
I
always
remember
one
my
or two of
hometown,
these
but I can't
songs
remember. I don't remember. I'm going down.
I
being
think
on
it's
the
I'm
radio.
going down, 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 down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But my hometown was a more of a minor hit, but it was good.
well, these were all in the top 10, you know, and that's just it. It's like, oh, new Bruce Springsteen.
Yep.
So you'd see him come out, and you know, it catapult, you know, through from like 100 to 40 or 30, and then it would just steadily climb. And the thing is, you know, Billboard, when they're doing the charts and everything, I don't know how much manipulation they had and how much was like actually
Right.
scientific, but when it gets to the top, it was harder to move songs up and down, you know, and
Yeah.
a giant song would just like leap by 5 or 6 or whatever and get up to 1, but you'd see just like incremental moves up and down, which only benefited the artist because, again, the longer exposure, the longer they're on the radio, the longer they're on, and then the more singles they have, you can just build this unlimited, you know, amount of success. And these album sales, that's not counting the single sales
Yep.
that they had, and they had single sales back
Yeah.
then.
Well, another thing, you know, this is the era when things would start to debut at number 1 too.
Yeah,
As soon as it was released, the sales were already there.
right.
And I mean,
Especially the albums, the singles, they still had to fight a little bit usually, but they
Sometimes.
could debut in the top 10 or whatever. But
But
the albums, if they had like 2 hit singles before the album came out, then that album's just raring to go. You
Right.
know, so.
but another thing that people don't realize, a lot of people don't anyway, is record companies would hire song pluggers, and those guys call the radio stations on representing the artist that the record company's trying to pitch, and they would say, "Don't you think you could play this a little more? Don't you think you could put this a little higher?"
We're not
And-
talking payola, are we?
Well, payola has always been there in different
Yeah, of
forms,
course.
Yeah.
but you know sometimes it's just they develop a relationship. It's like pharmaceutical salespeople.
Right.
You know, they develop a relationship with somebody and say, well, you know, this is a little better than that, and you know, maybe you should give this a little extra push. And it's like,
they
and
kinda
it works.
They did kind of work their way into the MTV fold, but at first MTV was just like, we don't care
Right.
what you want. We're going to put the stuff we want, and we're looking for new music anyway. We don't
Yep.
want to just like trudge out all the people who've been hits for all this.
And they wanted to be different,
They wanted to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was a great thing for music overall. Because, like I said, it got
Yeah.
rid of that stranglehold, and you finally had all these new artists that, like Duran becoming really big. And I don't know that they fall into your blockbuster
No,
category.
they're not. They're not in the blockbuster, believe it or not. Of course,
But-
like I say, you had to have at least 5 top 10s
Right.
to hit my list.
That's a tough threshold.
That's
It is a
that's a tough
huge-
one for anybody.
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to go into
Okay.
Janet Jackson,
Okay.
who was perhaps she was doubly benefited by being Michael Jackson's little sister.
Yep.
And so she was just coming of age, too. You know, he'd been around a while. So she was coming of age, and she had Control out in 86 and 87. And she had Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis as her production team, which was the dream marriage for her.
Yep.
So they were able to use Michael Jackson's appeal and everything, but carve a totally different type of artist than Michael Jackson, because she was very sexual and, you know, younger and all of that stuff. And they had a very distinct sound too.
Yep.
And so Control, her first album, she had What Have You Done For Me Lately? It had Nasty. It had When I Think of You. It had the song Control, and it had Let's Wait a While.
Are all these songs? What chart are you saying were number
Billboard, the only chart that
It's
matters.
just pop hits.
Yeah,
Top
Billboard.
This is
100.
not R&B. This is not.
No, Billboard Top 100. That's
Okay.
the only thing I care about. And I don't give a damn what Rolling Stone said were the best albums, or Pitchfork, or random people.
Okay.
This is the most scientific measure, which is gross in a way to talk about that. But her songs. Interesting thing about her album, those 5 songs, each one was. I don't know how to explain this, but wait. When I Think of You was number 1. It peaked at number 1. Let's Wait a While peaked at number 2. Nasty peaked at number 3. What Have You Done for Me Lately peaked at number 4. And Control peaked at number 5. So over the years, she managed to hit all 5 of the top spots. And that's 5 songs in the top 5. So that was, blow. And I don't think, I think Michael Jackson was a good thing to get her recognition, but she just became her own artist. Yeah. And I think a lot of people liked one or the other, not necessarily both. But she scored, like 10 million. I don't know. She may have still been a teenager, I think, when that one came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she was.
If you want me to move on, my girl Madonna, very ambitious. True Blue came out in 86 and 87. This is after Like a Virgin and her first albums. She was more of a slow build, and she had songs that were like in the top 20 for a while and everything. And one thing I like to compare Madonna and Cyndi Lauper, who came out at similar times, because Cyndi Lauper was out of the box, huge success, and everything's like number 1 and 2. And Madonna just kept getting better and kept getting better. And Cyndi Lauper took too much time between albums. She could take 3 or 4 years between albums, and Madonna was turning them out like every 2 years as another. And she would be a different Madonna every time. And even on the same album, she would be a different Madonna. Very good dancer, very video friendly. She knew how to work that. She also knew how to do a variety of songs to match her variety of personas. And she could get out with she could do Evita, she could do La Isla Bonita, she could do, dance songs, she could do Into the Groove or whatever, and she could do Live to Tell and these dramatic ballads. So she was ambitious because of how many albums she kept turning out. Like every couple of years she'd have another one out. And that's the whole thing. Get as much product. She should have been a marketing, guru, because it's getting product out there, keeping it fresh, and getting more product out there, and
keep it interesting.
Keep people interested in you, and keep it interesting. And she
as long
did.
As you don't keep putting the same album out over and over again.
No, and I think Cyndi Lauper's problem was she came out with such a distinct character, she couldn't really reinvent herself. She was stuck being Cyndi Lauper, and I don't think that. And then she was taking too long between albums, and I think it cost her. She was still always a good star and arguably a better singer than Madonna and all that. But Madonna was just a better marketer and just knew how to work the whole machine, and she had her team with her and all that stuff.
I think Madonna pushed the outrage edge of things more than Cyndi Lauper ever did.
Exactly. She'd be on Letterman all the time, and she would, she was constantly, hanging out with people and picking fights, and
came out with a sex book.
Out with a sex book, and and she got a lot of actors in on it too.
So much like David Bowie. I think she was modeling herself after David Bowie
probably.
in a way.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe.
But True Blue,
or using him as an inspiration. Not trying to be the same people, but.
But True Blue, this is like kind of her 3rd or 4th album. It had Live to Tell, Papa Don't Preach, True Blue, Open Your Heart, and La Isla Bonita, 25 million that she sold. And, and I don't have her on any others here, but she would always have 3 or 4 hits at least. And then we have throwback. We have Genesis that came out and dovetailed into all of this. And that's one thing that's interesting. You've got Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson. Madonna's a little different. Lionel Richie's a little different from that. Bruce Springsteen's different from that. But it's just they all had the same characteristics that you needed to just like blow it out through all the avenues.
Well, and another thing that you had as far as sales go in this is people were, because CDs had come in. This is the era of CDs.
Yeah. Also, that's another thing.
And sometimes people would buy it on cassette.
Yeah.
And decide they wanted the CD or buy it on. Vinyl went out pretty quickly with all this.
It did,
but
it was still kicking around the 80s.
Yeah, it was still kicking around, but it was one of those things where it started taking a nosedive when CDs really came in.
And that's another factor that played to the benefit of these artists is that some people might buy it on vinyl and 2 years later they're buying it on CD, so they're buying it again
because there were in-dash CD players.
Right.
And CDs at the time were so much more expensive than the other formats that sometimes they would buy it on the other format and then splurge on the CD.
Right. And people would get a scratch in a record, and it's like, that won't happen on CD. I think CDs were made tougher back then. I think they got cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, I think they did too.
Easier to screw up a CD, but I remember how they'd always say, these are indestructible. And it's like, oh, do I really want a vinyl? but then you had the pressure of like, oh, you get such a richer sound with a vinyl and all that. So people would they just get both. They just get both if they like something.
That's the goal, is to get you to buy all of them.
Yeah, buy all of it. And buy all the singles because there will be an extended
B-side on
there'll be a
Yeah.
special song on this single that you can't get, anywhere else.
It's just good marketing.
It's one of the great losses is we don't have B-sides anymore.
No. Well, we don't have singles
I
anymore,
know.
really. It's just, whatever you're listening to.
I think the loss of liner notes is a big one, too.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
But the Genesis album, this was 86, 87. All this was happening like bang, bang, bang. Now, the Genesis album didn't sell as much.
Which Genesis album are you talking about?
Invisible Touch.
Okay.
Which had Invisible Touch, Throwing It All Away, Land of Confusion, Tonight, Tonight, Tonight. These were good videos. I remember the Land of Confusion with the puppets and all, In Too Deep. And then there's another interesting one, 86, 87. We mentioned them last week, and I realized that we hadn't really talked about them like ever, and here we are at 50 episodes. But Huey Lewis and the News. And that's one of the reasons is, should we talk about Huey Lewis and the News?
Yeah.
They seem, so mainstream and everything. But again, Huey always dressed up, and he was relatively attractive, and they ended up being video friendly.
Yeah.
Where some rock bands couldn't make the transition because he was an actor. He was a natural born actor type, And the songs are just hokey as hell. And this is the 4 album. The Sports album didn't have quite as many hits.
Did not?
It had more sales. The Sports album sold 10 million, but the 4 album only sold about 5 million. But it had more hits.
I didn't know that.
So it's just and I think the reason, if I was guessing, the Sports album had better singles because you look at the 4 album and it's Stuck With You, which is hokey. Hip to Be Square, which
is
couldn't be
so
hokier.
square.
Yeah.
So and Doing It All For My Baby. It's like, it's like you might listen to that and everything, and they had fans and they were a good band, But they I don't know. I think they just kind of like worked in there, and they just happened to have all the key characteristics, or so many of the key characteristics to blow out the doors.
Well, yeah, and they were so friendly.
Yes.
It's like
you couldn't hate them.
No.
You wanted to hate them. As a critic, it's like I didn't want to say Hip to Be Square is a good song. God.
I bought the Sports album.
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, I didn't listen to it all
Sports
that
had
much.
New Drug, New Drug, and all that. So
Yeah, it had a
a little more edge.
a little funkier than
tiny bit more edge.
But
Hip to Be Square.
had a little salt on the cracker.
well, I mean, but it was they were a better band by the time they made that album.
Yeah.
And the songs were better, everything about it was better. But that was like in that day of okay, who is somebody that everybody's going to like?
Right.
Everybody can like a little bit if they don't love them, but they're totally unoffensive. They're just kind of
And totally disposable.
Yeah.
I mean, fairly disposable. I mean,
I think it was kind of like a Bruno Mars. It's like
Yeah.
you see the talent,
Very
and you
good.
like them, and maybe you shouldn't, but you're going to anyway, so you just do.
I don't feel any guilt about liking them. I mean, I don't. Like I said, it's not anything I pull out.
Right.
But by the same token, when it comes
Not
out,
gonna turn it off.
if it came on the radio, I'd leave it on because it's like, I remember that. I kind of like that. That's okay.
I felt like it was, and maybe I was wrong, but it seemed like it was more popular with people older. Because I don't remember my friends really liking them, not disliking them.
Well,
they didn't spawn like hatred.
But the whole reason that we brought this up to begin with was because all these musicians who were kids when that came out fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And that was like their first big musical influence
Yeah.
was listening to Huey Lewis. So, I mean, probably it's their parents' albums that they were listening to, but that's what hooked them.
Yeah. Well, so now we're cycling back around to Michael Jackson's next release, Bad, which was 87, 88. So he just, what?
I got a question before you go back to Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston, that was 87, 88.
I've got, her first album was 86.
Okay, did she have...
Just the one that's just called Whitney Houston which had I can't remember all the
Did
hits
it
on
have
it.
5 top 10s? Because
I remember it had 5, but it was
5.
okay.
She may have only had 4.
Maybe she just had 4. Whitney,
Not
we're
good
sorry.
Loser.
You lost out on
She is
Chuck's
popping
list.
up on my list, but
Okay, all right. That's another one that was just like just blowing out the doors.
And
You know,
again, she's got a great voice. She was video friendly, and again, relatively attractive. You can't understate that, because just some homely person, you're not going to want to. As far as MTV goes, they didn't market a lot of that. But Michael Jackson, Bad, 45 million sales worldwide.
Yeah, that was a big event.
Yeah, yeah. So he came out following the 51 million. Disappointing 45 million.
yeah.
But, of course, that had I Just Can't Stop Loving You, which I sort of remember. Bad, which definitely remember. The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Dirty Diana, Smooth Criminal. So, yeah, it was just like bang, bang, bang. So 87 to 88.
Oh, man, I was working in the record store when that album came out. I had to hear that so often, I just built a wall against it.
Yeah.
I remember it.
I thought Thriller was, even though I never needed to buy it, because it was everywhere. I thought Thriller was great. I hated Bad. I didn't like anything, any song on it.
Really?
The only thing I liked is Weird Al's parody of Bad, which was Fat.
I liked Bad. I like The Way You Make Me Feel.
I don't like any of them.
Kind of okay. Well, I wasn't.
Well, that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, we're not. We're not here to talk about my feelings. Your feelings don't count on this.
What about our feelings about his feelings?
I feel like you should shut up.
Yeah. I feel like you're getting off topic. So now we're going to slide over to George Michael. Of course, he was the handsome guy from Wham, so he comes out with his single. No offense to Andrew Ridgeley, he was
perfectly nice looking,
perfectly
chap.
fair, yeah. But George Michael Jackson, he was going to be the breakout, and of course he was, and he had an extra crossover with Britain and sales there. And he had "I Want Your Sex," and he had "Faith," which was Faith the one? No, what was the one with all the other people singing it? Well, anyway, he had "Faith," he had "Father Figure," "One More Try," "Monkey." And Kissing Fool. I don't know Kissing Fool. There's always one or two of these. Like, that was a top 10 hit because I don't even know what that was.
Is it Careless Whispers?
I think that was before.
That
wasn't
may
it?
have been before. Yeah, but he sold.
And that song has had a life.
Yeah,
yeah.
You hear that one
they're
everywhere.
making movies called Careless Whispers now. It's like, but anyway, that was 25 million. I mean, these sales are phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane.
Nobody's doing that now.
Well, they can't.
Now they can't. They can't. No matter how good they are.
No.
Taylor Swift cannot do this.
Taylor Swift's, I think her biggest selling album has sold 6 million.
Yeah, I've got some numbers. I looked at some of today's, but
and what are we talking about here? Because now,
well, yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into how they're measuring that.
Okay, because I don't
they're measuring
understand
things differently. Yeah. But this is back in the just pure sales.
Physical
just
sales.
Cha-ching, and artists getting their big chunk and record labels getting their big chunk. Whitney Houston, here she is, 87, 88. She got 19 million. I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Yep.
Didn't We Almost Have It All? So there's the ballad. So Emotional, another dance song. Where Do Broken Hearts Go? I don't know about that one. Love Will Save the Day. They had a strategy, too. It's like you start out with an uplifting song as your first single. So you whip up momentum and everything because you don't want to start with a slow burn kind of ballad. Then you slide into the ballad. And I remember, not to bash on Cyndi Lauper, but I remember when Cyndi Lauper came out with True Colors, there was a guy who ran a record store I shopped at, a lot of his older guy, and he said, I can't believe she's leading off with a ballad. That's a big mistake. And I was like, really? And I just hadn't heard that, but it's just like, again, it was such a strategy, and the fans didn't realize how strategized all of this was. But it was working, and it was working.
They were being manipulated.
They were being manipulated. They were being manipulated by
Still are.
all these pretty people. Yeah, in different ways, though, because
different
it's
ways.
not working the way it used to. Of course, Whitney, she got almost 20 million off of that. Then you had the first boy band. You had New Kids on the Block.
Yep.
88. in '89, and I really don't. $16 million for these kids. 16 million albums for these kids. Hanging Tough, I remember that. Please Don't Go, Girl, I don't really know. You Got It the Right Stuff, I remember that. I'll Be Loving You Forever, Cover Girl, and of course the song Hanging Tough. Bon Jovi, this is your first big breakout on this measure, is Bon Jovi's New Jersey album, which was 88 and 89. All of these are just like 88, 89, 90.
Slippery When Wet had 5, didn't it?
I don't. They didn't show up on Billboard's list here.
Oh well, maybe it was a different chart or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. It was,
Yeah, that was the thing that made him.
Yeah. But this had Bad Medicine, Born to Be My Baby, I'll Be There for You, Lay Your Hands on Me, and Living in Sin.
I remember the last two. Yeah.
That was still 19 million that they sold for that. Bobby Brown, Whitney Houston's Man, Don't Be Cruel, 88, 89. Yep, once
huge.
again. Don't Be Cruel, My Prerogative, Ronnie, Every Little Step, Rockwitcha. I don't remember Rockwitcha. 12 million. I mean, these numbers are just like, and it's all these artists happening in the same year, and you don't find anything else like that. Just pure commercial success and big numbers because of all the elements. Then here's a good one, Paula Abdul. I forgot about her. I tend to forget about her. But hers, she may have had one of the most memorable albums, 89, 90, and it was a good dancer. She had her little dimple. She was an LA Lakers cheerleader at one point. And Forever Your Girl, she had Straight Up, which, you'd remember it. Forever Your Girl, Cold Hearted, The Cold Hearted Snake. It's just the way that you love me. And then Opposites Attract, which was a duet she did with the cartoon cat whose name escapes me right now. But she pulled in 17 million sales for that.
I know. I just want to say that so far I am just so disappointed
What?
that you have not brought up REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity.
Would I?
1981.
Oh, well, that was before Thriller. 81.
81. It had 5 hits.
Okay.
I just want to keep
were they
on
all
loving
top
you.
10s?
Yeah, I don't know if they were top 10s or top 20s, but they got up there. But anyway, I just wanted to say,
All
Chuck,
right. Well,
Surely there's a Journey album that gets in there.
I'm actually just, I'm doing this
Evolution?
on purpose. I'm just pretending. No, we won't talk about that.
You have just offended every REO Speedwagon
Well, here's
fan
the
that-
most offensive one of all.
Okay, all right.
Milli Vanilli. Girl, you know it's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
89 and 90.
It takes
But
away
they
all
only
the credibility.
sold 7 million, so that makes me feel better compared to all these big 12, 18,
They only
20.
sold
They
7.
only
Only
sold
sold-
7 million.
Yeah.
Of course, for people who don't know, that was a fraud group. It was
Two spokesmodels that
two
they
spokesmodel dancers. Who went out
Handsome-looking
and lip-synced.
guys.
Handsome guys, but not the singers. And they went out and
had huge
faked.
hits.
Yes, they had huge hits.
And won
Although-
Best New Artist of the Year.
Best New Artist Grammy. Yeah. Just terrible. Girl, You Know It's True. I remember that. And Blame It on the Rain. Those are the ones I remember. They have a few others that I don't remember so well. I'd be fine not to remember any of these. And then we get, this is kind of coming to the tail end of this phenomenon. And you get Janet Jackson and you get Janet Jackson. So she kind of stepped it up like Madonna-like. So she had Rhythm Nation from 89 to 91, 14 million. It had Miss You Much, Rhythm Nation, Escapade, All Right, Come Back to Me, Black Cat, Love Will Never Do Without You. That was, I think those were all top 5 songs. And then in 93 to 94, so she took like a year off or so, she had Janet, another 14 million in sales.
Right.
And she had That's the Way Love Goes, If, again, Because of Love, Anytime, Any Place, and on, You Want This / 70s Love Groove. There were 6 top 10s on that album, and 5 or more top 10s from 3 albums. Basically, Janet Jackson, in this period of time, she ended up being a bigger benefactor, although Michael, with his 2, still probably outsold her.
Right.
But Janet ended up being the biggest benefactor from this big phenomenon because she was the youngest one to jump in there. So she had a longer life with it. And she put out 19 singles, and only one of them didn't make the top 10. And that was Pleasure Principle, which still made number 14. So she put out 19 singles and consecutive singles from these 3 albums, and only one didn't hit the top 10. So it's just giant, huge, crazy, big. And then you got a gap. We finally hit a gap. And it's like, why are we hitting a gap? MTV is dialing back its videos. The commercial radio is starting to falter. And then the record labels, it's like everything, and singles, it's like everything was starting to fracture. You didn't have, I guess you had CDs only at this point, so there wasn't the vinyl then upgrading to singles.
Well, vinyl didn't completely die out at any point, but yeah, I mean, it was a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of what it had been.
So
but
then, all you had Waiting to Exhale. That was a movie with Whitney Houston. It was a soundtrack.
Right.
Whitney was one of the ones. They had a lot of. They had.
And what year is that?
This is 95, 96.
Well,
so this is 2 years after the Janet Jacksons. And it's first gap there is at all.
Well, something that has happened during that time is there's been a huge shift. I mean, and you're talking about mostly just straight pop people.
Yeah.
So that's not being felt in the same way, but the Bon Jovis and people like that felt it.
Right.
Is you had the whole hair metal thing fall out of favor when you had grunge come in.
Right.
And then you had massive, sales with Pearl Jam and Nirvana and groups like that.
And the difference there is they wouldn't have 5 top 10 hits.
Exactly. They were going, it was starting to become an album thing again for that type of music anyway. And that was what young people started listening to that and finding out there was an audience for that again.
Right.
Well, I got one. I don't know if it fits, but it from 1987, and that's U2, the Joshua Tree.
Right. Again, it's probably just not 5 top 10 hits.
Well, they had five. They had 5 singles.
Okay.
They had With or Without You, Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, Where the Streets Have No Name, In God's Country, and One Tree Hill. I doubt those last 2 were top
I'd say
5.
the first 3 definitely.
First 3 were, though, so it's close.
Yeah.
Well, they were astride the world at that time.
But we also have the phenomenon while in the categories that you're talking about, that things would be bigger on MTV than they were on the charts.
Yeah.
And you would think, there were some things I would think, oh, this was a big hit. And it was like, no, it barely charted. It's just that MTV was playing it so much. And that wasn't being reported in any way for airplay.
Right.
Does Billboard track video plays?
They tracked video plays.
Right.
But that wasn't considered part of singles.
Sales.
And well,
it wasn't sales. It was bottom line sales back then. It's like who rang up dollars,
Oh, and by the way,
now it's changed.
But how far up it went the charts, it wasn't just sales. It was a combination of sales and radio play.
Yeah.
And the radio play could be manipulated. And probably the sales could be manipulated to some extent because not every record store was reporting sales to Billboard.
Okay.
Well, just one last tidbit from Joshua Tree. It sold 25 million copies.
Okay.
It's not. That's respectable.
Yeah.
But there are, and it doesn't go with your category, there are huge hit albums that were not considered blockbusters because they sold over time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing, too, is that all of these albums are still selling. You can still buy all of these albums.
Yeah.
And like I say, I saw Michael Jackson got knocked off the top by the Eagles, but then, not that many years ago, and then he turned around and knocked them back off again.
Right.
It's like these albums are old and dead, and so is Michael and some of the Eagles. So, but and that's something that the more product that comes out, this is a whole other factor. But these days, if you're coming out, you're also competing with like 60 years of music,
Right.
And some people are just going to like, oh wow, I've never heard of this. I don't know, just name somebody. Alanis Morissette. I've never heard of her before. And so you buy that instead of some new person that you might like, or you like it more. It's just, the competition just keeps growing because the artists are out there and the music is infinite.
Yeah. And
History just keeps getting deeper.
It's like something like Dark Side of the Moon, which was not the top-selling album of the year it came out.
Right.
But it stayed on the charts
Forever.
for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's, it is one of the top-selling albums, but it was never the top-selling album in any one year.
Right.
And, we talked about this before. We all think about Sgt. Pepper, which is one of the top-selling albums of all time. It was not the top-selling album of 1967 when it came out. More of the Monkees was.
Of course, the Monkees.
Yeah, I love the Monkees, but it's like,
Monkees?
but More of the Monkees probably sells, a few copies every year, but Sgt. Pepper is still selling.
Oh yeah.
Well, I wanted to dive into these specifically because just because it's just such a commercial breakthrough, and it was just a matter of all the planets lining up and the right people coming out at the right time with the right record label, and they were just able to take over. These people aren't necessarily the most talented by any stretch. If you're comparing their talent to U2, I'm not sure many of them would match up. Yeah. But just their abilities and their savvy. But and then so there was like a 10-year gap, and this was, I thought, interesting. Fergie with the Duchess in 2006, suddenly she hits with 5 top 10 singles. First time in 10 years that an album had done that after all those albums in a row. And I'm not sure. I know YouTube. It seems like around 2005 maybe was when YouTube was like really
changing into reality shows, and you had to go to VH1 Classic if you wanted to watch rock videos.
Yeah, and but I mean that could have benefited Fergie, who's very easy to look at and all that, and but her album The Duchess, it was 2 years hit. London Bridge, Fergalicious, Glamorous with Ludacris, Big Girls Don't Cry, Clumsy, and oddly enough, the only other one from that time was a few years later, the Black Eyed Peas, Fergie's group. They came out with Big Girls Don't Cry was her song. They had the End, the END, and they sold 9 million with that, and it had Boom Boom Pow, I Got a Feeling. Now, I don't know if this is maybe a worldwide thing, because I know that their popularity and their dance music, but it's just weird that there's this little island with just Fergie and the Black Eyed Peas on it for nothing for years before or after.
And what year is that?
Fergie was out in 2006, and it was a hit till 2008, and then Black Eyed Peas 2009 to 2010. So they could have been dovetailing on Fergie herself.
The other thing that's going on there is the iPod.
Yeah.
People started, not necessarily relying on the radio.
Right.
So the charts are becoming more irrelevant at that point because people are making their own playlists.
Yeah.
They're down.
And Katy Perry did come in right at the end of that at 2010 to 2012 with Teenage Dream. I remember that being like a breakthrough hit, which didn't seem like that big a deal to me because I remembered all these others. But at that time, there wasn't anyone else doing what she was doing. And she only sold 6 million, but it was like the biggest anything. You heard all these others were like 25 million, so obviously it's not taking as much. But that was a big album, Teenage Dream. It was California Girls and Teenage Dream, Firework, E.T., the Last Friday Night. I like that one. Anyway, she had a bunch. And then you finally had Taylor Swift coming in with 1989, which was her breakthrough. That one did sell 14 million. So you can look at that. You can look at that 14 million and say, well, that's not a huge amount compared to the older days, but it's huge compared to anything else going on. And that was a mega hit. That did have like a lot of significant. It had Shake It Off, Blank Space, Style.
When did that come out?
Wildest Dreams. That was 2014 to 2015. So I don't know at what point Billboard changed how they were ranking these things, but they did. And from here on, when you get up to like 7 years ago, it's hard to know what the sales really were. And they're calling something equivalent album sales. And that's supposed to be a combination of physical sales, digital downloads, and streaming. And the thing about streaming is the artists just don't make much of anything from streaming. Yeah. And, Spotify makes that money. And what the digital downloads, I'm not sure, what people are paying for that.
Well, with the whole digital download thing, it can go from anything of them making a tiny little fraction of what it's going for, which is, you're not selling a digital download of a single for more than $2. Usually it's like $1.50, something like that, I think. But, you can...
But I'll just go real quick through these because I don't know how significant they are. But Drake, Scorpion in 2018. This is a few years after that Taylor Swift's breakthrough. Drake is like big in this. He had Scorpion, had 7 of top 10s. Post Malone had in 2018, he had 5 top 10s. Juice World, which was a posthumous release, that came out in 2020, 5 top 10s. J. Cole, 5 top 10s. But like J. Cole sold 1 million.
Yeah.
Juice World was 3.3 million, which I guess was big. Drake again, Certified Lover Boy, 9 top 10s. He sold 2 million.
Yeah.
And that was 21. Taylor Swift, Midnight's 2022. And it's hard to find even reliable numbers now because, one, I don't know what equivalent album sales are and just how reliable they are. But, I mean, there's no question these are the succeeding artists of today, but they're
Right.
not pulling it in from all directions like they
The
were
heyday.
in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Taylor Swift again, Drake and 21 Savage had 8 top 10s. Morgan Wallen, One Thing at a Time from Knoxville, 6 top 10s. Number 6 sold 5.3 million. SZA, I like her, 5 top 10s, but 2 million. Drake again, 7 top 10s, 1 million for All the Days. Taylor Swift again. Taylor Swift released the Tortured Poets Department last year. Huge, big news. 10 top 10s from her album and 10 million sales. So she's still, but that's
It's 10
worldwide
million,
sales.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just like phenomenal sales numbers now.
Well, she had the top selling album of the past 3 years, I think.
Well,
Or at least it loves those.
Kendrick Lamar's the last one I got on here, 7 top 10s, and you just can't pinpoint how much that sold. That was a GNX from last year. Now, Morgan Wallen is listed as the number 1 album of his Dangerous the Double album is listed as the number 1 album of the 21st century. And it's
Wow.
got 10 million sales. So a Knoxville guy, Knoxville native.
Wow.
But again, it's hard to
know that.
tell. And the thing, like the Taylor Swift with the Tortured Poets Department, you release an album and you release all the singles at once because all the singles are on streaming. Whereas there was so much control with the industry in what you could hear in the 80s and 90s. And you get one song and that's it.
Because of the 80s, there was no internet.
There was no internet.
That has
And there was
completely
no
changed
free
the whole
yeah.
music model.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now the consumers dictate everything. So the consumers can go and stream anything they want. And, a consumer can stream a whole album 10 or 20 times. Is that equivalent of 20 album sales?
No, I don't think. I don't think it's equivalent of sales. I mean, you can still buy the album as a download or whatever, and I think that probably those people are doing that to an extent. But
Most people aren't. Most
Yeah.
people have Spotify or Apple Music or Tidal or something,
And
and
they
they're
have-
just listening to whatever they want to
Yeah.
listen to, and they think, well, it's just $10 a month.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I know. So Spotify's making the money.
Well, that's the
and-
sad thing.
and
And yet,
Apple Music and all the others.
Title, yeah. So, So I don't know. I mean, and now touring is more important again. Taylor
Yep.
Swift, tour. Drake. I mean, these people, SZA, I'm sure, Morgan Wallen, obviously touring. I mean, he's like this breakthrough, huge success, and it just doesn't feel the same.
No, and it's really funny because it is kind of. I mean, the model is back to the 50s,
Yeah,
where it's singles and touring is where they make money,
yeah.
and that's. And the singles are like, well, you got to have.
I think at one point Taylor Swift, she had overlapping albums, and maybe she had the 14 top singles like of the week.
Yeah. Well, I
And
think
it's like, is that? I mean, how's that possible? It used to be you have to wait 4 months for the next single, and when we were talking about Chappell Roan last year, it's kind of like you've never heard of her, and all of a sudden her entire album was nothing but singles. It's like, well, what's the actual single? And it's just a different way of consuming music that we have now, and you just get slapped with all of it at once. It's not slowly fed to you like a 5-course meal or something. It's just, here's your whole dinner.
it's like watching a season on a streaming service that they only release the episodes, once a week,
Right.
As opposed to the one where they put the whole series on at once and you just
Right.
binge it.
Right. And you're a binger because you were waiting. You'll wait for several episodes to build up before you'll watch something.
Well, on the White Lotus for sure. I wanted to wait for 4 episodes because, and I think I enjoyed it more than you all
yeah,
did.
you did.
Because
you
I
did
did.
because it started slow. I know. I watched the first one on the first night. And
I watched it in sequence.
Yeah, I watched it in sequence and had to wait a whole week after, kind of an underwhelming first couple of episodes. Yeah. And then it caught momentum. But if I had started with 4, it would have been different. Yeah. It would have been better.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to see how people get to be... Because, I mean, with Taylor Swift, obviously, she is absolutely huge. Everybody knows who Taylor Swift is.
But can you imagine how much she would have made, if it was the same system? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's already, God knows how much money she has.
Yeah, and she's breaking all kinds of records with hits. It's just too bad there's not the same dollars attached to having a hit.
But when you are that big, the streaming services are giving you more money, period.
The money comes to you.
Yeah. I mean,
she could just pull it off Spotify and people would be leaving Spotify.
Right. You can strike deals. And I mean, and one of the reasons I have so much respect for Taylor Swift is when Apple Music when they were figuring out what they were going to pay people, she held out not just for her, she held out for everybody else. Yeah. Yeah. So she's somebody who does care about other musicians and, trying to make a living in music. So, she's one of the few people out there that did decide to be a little bit more altruistic in her business dealings in music. And like I said, it's such a different world musically. I'm not sure how much the charts, they go back and forth on how significant they've been. I can't even get a gauge on what the charts are now as far as how significant. And who cares?
But, it makes sense to me, though, when people say, oh, music was so much better in the 80s. It's because it was branded into your brain every direction. And now you've got so much choice as a consumer that you can just completely miss the biggest artists and never see or hear.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You'll look at something, you'll say someone, see something on the internet. Someone says, I've never heard a Beyonce song. It's like...
And it's also... that, and it's with news, and it's with art, it's with everything. Everything is tailored to what they know you already like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you just let it autoplay, it's going to play the artists that sound like that.
Right. And you're never going to get stretched a little bit to think, it's like, I always use Tom Waits as the example, but it could be anybody, any of these MTV acts that we talked about in the 80s. It's like, whoa, that's different. That's not what I expected. And it takes you a couple of times to get it, and then you love it.
Yeah.
But you didn't know you were going to love it the first time you heard it.
And Spotify never would have offered it to
you. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think I think this era is so bad it's bad with art and music. It's just that you need to be stretched a little bit. That's what art is supposed to do. It's supposed to give you a perspective
that you didn't think about before.
Exactly. Right. And that's what makes an artist is being able to deliver something from a different perspective. And I think, I'm not saying these people don't do it. I think Taylor Swift and Chappell Roan and all these people do that. But you're already in that realm that you like it. It's not going to stretch you out a little bit more. It's like when the grunge movement came in. First time I heard Nevermind, I thought, God, I don't want to be yelled at right now. And I threw it over to the side. And then 3 months later, it came on the radio. And I was like, damn, I love this.
I'm ready to be yelled at.
Yeah, I'm ready to be yelled at now.
You should have just told me. I would have yelled at you at work.
There were other people yelling at me, Chuck.
Oh, that's true.
You were the one that weren't. You
wasn't
yelling at me.
I didn't really want to go down that. That's not my style.
I can't imagine anyone yelling at you, Wayne.
Oh, there've been people.
Yeah, I can think of a couple. They were insane people.
They were insane, but
just to be fair.
Okay.
But yeah, it's an interesting world we live in now as far as, finding what your thing is. I'm glad that people manage to do it, and the internet's out there, so you can dig around. Yeah. But you have to be willing to dig.
You got to do the work.
Right. Yeah. And, it's like what we do here is at the end of the show, we recommend stuff.
Yes.
And hopefully you're adventurous and you give it a chance and say, okay, maybe I do like this, or, even if you don't like it, at least you gave it a shot.
Yeah.
I've been writing down all our recommendations, and I've kept them all. So I'll compile them all.
Okay. All righty.
Cool.
Maybe we can publish it.
Well, we're ready for recommendations now, I think, unless someone has anything else to say about the subject. But let's move.
All right. Well, I want to recommend because of course, we're taping this in advance. but the finale is this Sunday, The Righteous Gemstones. And I have not recommended that before, have I?
I don't think so.
Think I have.
I know it's been brought up. I don't know if you've recommended it, really.
Well, every season this is the fourth and final season.
Okay.
Every season has been hilarious.
Yes.
And this season has gotten, it started off a little slower, but it has kicked into high gear, and it has been hilarious. Walton Goggins as Baby Billy is one of the funniest characters, I think, to have ever been on television. Yep. And if you don't know what this is, it's a story.
It's HBO and Max.
Right? Yeah, it's an HBO Max show about an evangelist family that have a big mega church with,
Are they in Texas? They're real southern.
South Carolina.
They're
from South Carolina.
Okay. That's super southern.
Danny McBride wrote it.
Yep, Danny McBride is the guy behind it, and all of his stuff is funny.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting sense of humor.
Oh, and it's kind of gross sometimes, but if you've ever been around that culture, boy, he nails it. It is, the stuff that he's satirizing is right on target. It's got John Goodman in it. It's got, I can't think of the guy from Workaholics, the Adam Devine.
Yeah.
And
Honored Family.
Yeah, and it is absolutely hilarious. And it's got a lot of suspense in it too, and dark turns you don't expect.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's the thing I noticed. At first I thought it was just going to be a farce.
Yeah.
But then the plot takes some really unexpected turns that add drama to it.
Yeah, and and all these people are really hateful in their way.
Yeah.
But you wind up rooting for them because the other people are even worse.
Well, I should probably give them more of a chance because, it reminded me of people that I didn't like. And it's like, I can't sit and watch these people. I'm not going to like this. But
it's tough the first couple of episodes because it's just, they're real irritating and they're just
so irritating.
Con men and just shysters.
But in the same way that...
Yeah.
Yeah, but each one of them has their own particular thing that is their driving force, and they each pull them in different directions, and you can see, after a while, you start to notice those trends, and they get really funny.
Yeah, it's great. So anyway, if you haven't started The Righteous Gemstones, you ought to start it, and it is funny all the way through.
John?
I haven't been watching anything new lately, so I'm just going to recommend one of my most favorite television series I've ever encountered, and I hope I haven't already recommended this one, but it was late 80s, and it is Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
And it's just, have I already talked about this? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
well,
it's
it's worth bringing it up again. It's loaded with stars. It's got Seth
Sarah
Rogen.
Jessica Parker.
No, she's not.
No, she was in the other one, the Square Pegs.
It was James Franco
James Franco,
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen, Jason Segel, Linda Cardellini. And it's about a brother and sister in high school in the mid-'80s. She is a senior who has been a mathlete, and she's just been a super achiever all her life. And I think her aunt or uncle just dies, and she sort of has an existential crisis and decides she doesn't want to be that anymore.
Right.
And so she starts hanging out with the stoners.
Yeah, it kind of turns emotional. There's like a surprising depth or poignancy to it.
Yes, and then her little brother, so she starts hanging out with sort of the stoner crowd, and those are the freaks. And then her younger brother is his first year in high school, so he's like 9th grade, and he's, his voice hadn't changed yet, and he's got his 3 geeky friends, and they get into adventures too, and there's the power dynamic between the cool seniors and the geeky young kids, and it's hilarious. The episodes are all so funny, and yet they do definitely have a heart to them, and I couldn't recommend it. Freaks and Geeks. Look it up.
Okay, all right. Well, since you two did comedies, I'm going to pivot to In a Violent Nature, which was a 2024 film. You're not going to like this, John, I'm sure. But it's so the gimmick is it's documenting a mass killing from the perspective of the killer, which is unusual because usually you've got the victims and there's something lurking in the background. It has a very Friday the 13th or not Nightmare on Elm Street, but Friday the 13th or Halloween type vibe because the killer is not a normal person in society and maybe has some kind of super element that keeps them alive, but you're not sure what. It's a Canadian movie written and directed by Chris Nash. The actors in it, I didn't recognize their names. They've all got history and all, but the whole movie, or most of the movie, is you're following him around, and he's walking through the trails, and it's out. This is the Friday 13th element too. It's kind of people who are camping and out in the woods, and it's at a park, and he's on the shoreline of a lake, and the killings are some of the. And the people that he's killing, you usually just hear them in the background, and you can see, like when you're following him around, he'll be like on the periphery of the woods, and they'll be around a campfire or something. You think if they just looked, they would see him, but they don't look up, and you just hear their conversations. And some of the killings are you might appreciate this, Wayne, are some of the most bizarre graphic type killings. I mean, really unsettling killings, and some of them are more traditional, but
just happy killing.
Right, and you're not sure.
I like a movie with traditional killings.
Yeah, I like traditional death. Thank you very much. Stabbings and guns only. But
were there top 5?
Yes, but and then it's hard to figure out what's going on, of course, because the killer is nonverbal, but it does kind of make sense. It does make sense by the end, but it just took a while to get there as to what was going on and why he was just killing people. So,
did you enjoy it? That's the one I didn't know if I would sit and enjoy this movie or not when I was reading about it.
I don't know if enjoyment implies joy, I guess, but I was intrigued by it because it had a different perspective, because you're so used to being in that house with the victims,
right? And
there's something out there, and instead you're the something out there that the people are not really aware of, or if they are, they're just sort of aware. Now, the story progresses, so the situation changes, and some people become aware of him and stuff like that, but the killings were just so. It was a bit like The Visitors, in that these people they weren't
strangers.
Really,
you mean the strangers? The
strangers, yes, because the victims were realistic in that they couldn't really fight back. You know, it's like you get these superhuman, like Laurie Strode from Halloween, who could do all these things to fight back, but these people were largely inept at fighting back at all.
Okay. I don't know whether I want to watch it or not, Chuck. It's hard to tell.
I don't know if Sarah wants to see it.
She will not see it.
But,
she will not watch it.
Yeah, and I don't know if John wants to see it.
Oh, John's not.
I don't think so. I'm scared enough.
I think you should give it a try just to see. Really, the only thing that separates it from these other movies is you're just in a really weird perspective, and you're just following a silent person who's stalking people.
Well, see, that's the thing that's the thing that bothers me. We talked about this with different horror films. It's like, that bothers me when I'm almost, it almost puts you in the position to root for the killer when you're in the perspective of the killer.
Yeah, I don't know if I was rooting for him though, but I just wanted him to stop.
Yeah,
and the people.
That's kind of the opposite of rooting.
Yeah. And the people he's killing, none of them are particularly bad people either.
Right.
So but it's just curious, It's just like, why would someone do all this?
Okay, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
I probably won't.
No, you shouldn't.
All right. Well, since I brought up Elton John, who was one of the biggest hit makers of the 70s.
He was.
And I'm going to recommend one of his albums that did not sell that much.
Okay.
1970s Tumbleweed Connection, which is one of my Desert Island discs.
Okay.
It's probably my favorite Elton John album. And it's really odd because what they set out to do was make an album of songs that sort of depicted the American West without knowing what the American West really was.
Like, what did Elton John know about the American West?
And Elton John and Bernie Taupin didn't really know that much. And so they have things like, a hedgehog is mentioned in a song, not knowing that hedgehogs don't exist in America.
Right, yeah.
But it has some of their best songs. Burn Down the Mission's on it. Amarina is on it. There's Come Down in Time, which is a beautiful, beautiful song. Country Comfort that Rod Stewart covered, and some other people covered that song. But it's one of the few Elton John albums where I just put it on and start to finish. I absolutely love it.
Okay.
What year did that come out?
1970.
Okay, that's right on the verge of my favorite era of production.
Yeah, well, it sounds great, and it's his third American album, because Elton John, that had Your Song on it, came out at the beginning, I think, of 70, and then 11/17/70, which is a live album, and then this one. And this one didn't have any hits, but it had songs that he has continued to perform ever since that have become fan favorites.
So he was an album artist for an album.
Yeah, well, I mean, he really kind of started out as more of an album artist, and then when Honky Chateau came out, and he got Rocket Man and Honky Cat became real big hits.
Start getting hits, you realize
Well,
you
that-
want hits.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I was thinking about was Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Did that fit our category?
It was the top-selling album of 1970. That and his greatest hits album kind of tied for the top-selling album of
I know, but
1974.
does Goodbye Yellow Brick Road fit the category for today's
It
podcast?
only had 3, I think, top 10 hits.
Loser.
I wonder how many albums it sold, though.
Oh, well, it sold more than a lot of the ones that did have 5 hits.
Yeah.
It
And it continues to sell.
yeah.
They all do. It's weird. I just looked up when I was looking up the numbers for these. Like, oh, well, Paula Abdul sold another 100,000 records.
Yeah. Well, with some of these, I mean, I just bought the replacements, Pleased to Meet Me Deluxe Edition, because I found it on sale for like $27. So, I mean, it's like the third copy I have of Pleased to Meet Me by the replacements, because it has a lot of
And
great
then there's that guy that keeps buying the Herb Albert.
That's the thing.
Did we say that on? I don't know if we said that on air. You may have said that before.
Yeah, we talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, well, no, we didn't say. There is a guy out there who is, every time he comes across a copy of Whipped Cream and Other Delights, he buys it, and he has thousands of copies. I've seen a picture of where he has just like, and he's got them all like displayed. It's not just he's got them in boxes in the closet. He's got them all out.
That's amazing.
His entire album collection seems to be Whipped Cream and Other Delights.
Crazy.
And he never runs dry. Anytime you go to a used record store, you're going to find a copy of it.
Yeah.
Yep, there's some grandkid selling off Papa's, record collection.
Yeah.
He swoops in. he should stalk the estate sales, and I'm sure he'd.
Oh, they're all over. You find them all over.
Crazy. John, you got a music
I
recommendation?
do. This one was recommended to me today
Okay.
by my friend Annika, and I had never heard of it before, and I bet you have never heard of it either, but I just really, really dug it. It's by Keith Papworth and DeWolf Music. It's from 1975.
No.
It is instrumental. My take on it is that it's a drummer and a bass player who were jamming together. So it's Keith Papworth, Papworth, and DeWolf Music, DeWolfe Music. In the description underneath the heading, it says easy listening. It is not easy listening.
Okay.
But it's sort of, Chuck, I think you'll like it. It's
Really? Okay.
really tight rhythm section, and it has sort of Tropicalia sort of vibe to
I
it.
like that.
It's all instrumental. It'd be great music to listen to while you're having a conversation and you just want some background
Okay.
music, but it rewards you if you listen to it. It's got really funky grooves to it.
Okay.
Really good bass player, really good drummer. That's my take, is that's a drummer and a bass player that do jams, and then
Okay.
they add other stuff in.
Well, I'm down with rhythm sections. Just spare me the guitar solo, and
There's
I'll
no,
be okay.
I don't think there's any guitar solos. There's
Beautiful.
only a few guitars at all. A lot of horn sections.
Uh-huh.
I just really have been enjoying it all day long. So let's pass that along.
Okay. I don't know if this is a recommendation, but I saw the B-52s have like an 8-album. Their entire collection's coming out in a new set, and I think each vinyl album is a different color, and I don't know if they're extra songs, but that's something worth noting. And I want to recommend a song, not even an album, by the UK group Wet Leg. I don't know if I've ever talked about them before. But they're a British band, and they do remind me very much of Elastica. My gals from the 90s, and Elastica even had a song in 2000 called Mad Dog that is reminiscent of their new song called Catch These Fists, which almost has like a Loretta Lynn Fist City type thing going on. But it's just like this honky, like honking kind of guitar chaotic kind of ragged sound to it.
Is
and
this just a single, or is it from an album?
It's just a single. The album is coming out July 11th, but I was afraid if I waited till the album came out and all that. So the album won't be out when people hear this, unless they're hearing it late. But the single is great. It's again, it reminds me of the Elastica song "Mad Dog," which is in its 25th anniversary. So that's interesting. They're also a British group. They're led by Ryan Teasdale. She's their main vocalist, and Hester Chambers is the lead guitarist. But it's chaotic and rocking hit. But it's just exciting. I don't know how to explain it. But they're looking for a fight. And the singer has that kind of disaffected English singer like Justine Fleshman of Elastica. And she goes, I know all too well just what you're like. I don't want your love. I just want to fight. And so she's talking about, I want to know if you can catch my fists. So I guess that means, taking her punches. And later on she goes, yeah, don't approach me. I just want to dance with my friends. But it's fun. It's exciting. It's kind of a throwback to me for Elastica fans. But and their album's coming out, I believe, July 11th. But it's Catch These Fists by Wet Leg. They won a Grammy, kind of a surprise little breakthrough a couple of years ago. So they're not totally unknown.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Send us an email
Oh, yeah.
at howweheardit@gmail.com.
Yeah. Send us an email. Like us. Follow us. Give us 5-star ratings.
Send us ideas for subjects for our podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And we all reserve the right to reject them.
Oh, yeah. I know the pain of rejection.
Yes.
My idea for the best guitar solos, shot down in flames.
I was going along with it, but as I was pulling in today, it was like I was listening to Frank Zappa's version of Whip and Post.
Oh.
Which is I think it's on the Them or Us album, but it's like, I'm pulling up, Chuck's sitting here already, and it's like, oh, well, here's a guitar solo.
You had your window down,
I
and
did.
you come driving up to me with a guitar solo blaring out, and you said, well, it's Frank Zappa, and I said, that doesn't make any difference. So, anyway, we will be back at you guys soon. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, movies, art, culture, whatever it is that's on their mind. How We Heard It was recorded at the Arbor Studio in Knoxville, Tennessee by me, John Baker. How We Heard It is a Cozy Planet production. If listening to this podcast has given you a burning sensation, then we recommend you sit in a hot tub until your symptoms fade away. If you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne, or even me, you can send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. So thank you for listening, and come on back and we'll have another episode for you next week.